Yo, 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 Muddy Waters Podcast. This your boy Shaq Sims, and I'm here right now with a very special guest, man. First of all, I found my long lost cousin. You know what I'm saying? My long lost cousin, baby. You know what I mean? But I'm here right now with Mike Sims, the owner of Charlotte CBD. They were the first CBD dispensary in Columbia. He's been killing it up here in Charlotte. You know what I'm saying?
First one in Charlotte.
First one in Charlotte too?
Yeah, first.
See?
Yeah, first dispensary style in Charlotte. Yep.
That's what's up.
Yes.
Yeah. The guy, man, you know, and the reason this interview is so special to me because my first time having CBD was probably 2014, right? But I hadn't had it since then, and I was always a fan of what it did for me because I got pharmaceutical grade, high quality CBD, and I hadn't found any since then. I got introduced to his store through a family member. She had the fucking cherry wine cigarettes, CBD cigarettes.
Okay.
This was a while ago. I smoked them. I was like, oh my God, this is what I had back then.
Right.
And I've been fucking with his store ever since.
That's what's up.
First time ever having Delta 8 was at his store. You know what I'm saying? First time smoking one of those little water.
Student glass.
One of those was at your store.
Right.
So, you know, they introduced me to the cannabis industry. Now I'm an avid smoker every day. Up, so I just want to say thank you.
Hey, man, appreciate it. Thank you.
For sure, man.
Thanks so much.
For sure. And you call yourself the Cannabis King.
Yeah.
Why do you call yourself the Cannabis King?
Hey, man, look, you got to claim it. If you ain't going to call yourself that, who's going to be? But now,
That's a fact.
The thing is, man, it's like anybody else's story in this game. You know, I tell people it's a 27-year plus overnight success story, but you know, cannabis has always been a huge part of my life, but it's not until the last few years I could really be out and talk about it, and even now it's limited to what I could talk about. So you know, it's one of those things. I joke about it like say it's a coming out kind of deal, but you know, it's always been a huge part of my life, and now I'm making a lot of moves in the industry and trying to position myself to be the best and to be the king in this industry, and especially in this area. So my Instagram handle is Cannabis King South, but I like the South. The South raised me. Charlotte raised me. Born and raised, and you know I had opportunities to do this in other states and open a dispensary and get into the business, but it just didn't feel right. And visiting my business partner out in Oregon, Dan. You know, it's gray out there. It's always raining. It's always nasty. The market's, you know, what it is out there, and it's not fresh and new and clean. I want to be in the ground level, and we had the opportunity to do it here. Man, we hit the ground running, and we still are. We got so many projects coming up. We're franchising. We'll be announcing probably by the end of the day or tomorrow that we're opening Concord location. So it'll be we had 3 locations, had to shut one down because it was in Mooresville before its time. But now we're going to open another 3rd one. We're franchising, and we're opening a cannabis-themed resort, too, in Virginia.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, man. So we got a lot of big things happening.
Can't fucking wait,
man. Yeah,
man.
So it's a dream come true. It's just, I fought it for so many years. I tried to go the corporate route and open my own business, you know, towing and bail bonds and all this stuff, and trying to get away from cannabis. And it's like, you know, let me focus, let me not smoke, let me stay away from cannabis and do the corporate thing. And man, it kept leading me down paths I didn't want to be down, especially being on pharmaceutical drugs now instead of cannabis. You know, and they had me on, you know, Adderall to wake up and Xanax to go to sleep and Cymbalta during the day for, you know, for my mood and my mood swings and depression or whatever it was. You just go through things, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Before I know it, I'm feeling nothing. I'm walking around like a zombie. I can't laugh. I can't cry. And man, I went back to cannabis, and it's a beautiful thing. It balances you, and you know, like you said, you kick the cigarettes. Me too.
Yeah, man.
And,
yeah, man.
You know, when you're done with stuff like that, and you put better things in your body. I'm trying to get better with the food and things, but
it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
The cannabis will lead you there,
right? But it's just you know, you get in what you put, you get out what you put in, and I learned, you know, embrace cannabis and use it as a medicine and use it in the right times and ultimately it's all right times now for me.
For sure.
Now being at this business, but it's beautiful, and every day I wonder, was it all worth it? You know, because we're constantly fighting. Still, we're constantly fighting for more access, to keep the access we got, to try to make it fair to people that are still suffering and serving sentences and suffering economic loss and family loss and everything else simply because they were caught with this plant. You know, that's a big proponent that gets overlooked a lot and has to be addressed. I think first and foremost is people of color paid the greatest sacrifice, I think, for this drug war. And now we have, I was just in Chicago last weekend, the weekend before last, and now they have dispensaries out there that look like Apple stores, you know, as corporate as can be. And it's like, yo, there's still people serving real time right now. And even the ones that don't, it's like I tell, it's a life sentence, because you might not even serve time, but with your plea agreement or whatever, now you got a charge on your sheet, your rap sheet, and that affects your credit score, where you live, your job, everything. So to me, it was a life sentence. So we got to correct this before we can move forward in this industry. And I think we're leaving out the people that paid the greatest sacrifice, which was minorities, brown people and people of color, and, you know, Latinos, and that's where we're at still. And, you know, it's like, I read something the other day, minorities represent 8% of this whole industry.
It's crazy.
But when you know, you're more likely to get arrested 4-1 on the other side for possession, if you're a person of color. So we have to address that first and foremost before, and I think everybody realizes that. I think a lot of states are afraid of reparations for those that were negatively affected by these drug wars. So I go on and on these tangents forever, man.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a great opportunity. The industry's beautiful. Every day I wonder why I do it, and I'm reminded when I see the miracles, when I hear the stories, when people tell me this plant saved their life, or I help orchestrate save their life, you know, because I take it serious, but I never could take credit for that. And people will tell you, your product, your store, your being here changed my path.
For sure.
And what other reward do you need? You know, of course, money's great. But,
of course.
but you know, it's so fulfilling, man. And I tell people I'm a hope dealer, you know, and and so many labels over the years and fears and everything else, but I see it, and people will come in desperate, like, I've tried everything, and a friend or a cousin or a doctor now told me I need to try this. And, you know, we got one lady that came in our store in the beginning, 14 medications she was on every day. Now she is on zero medication. She takes all natural products that we sell in our store. She's in better health than ever. And she saved a fortune in doctor bills and medical bills and pharmaceutical bills. And she literally comes in and gets well. And how much more beautiful can it be?
Super beautiful.
Right, so
you can't beat that, man.
Right.
And like you say, you sell hope, like, and that's the best thing you can do is sell hope. And you can tell the intention behind what the intention that you put behind the product. That shit is important, bro. I tell people all the time, like, I'm never just gonna buy something from just anybody.
No.
Like, I might support you,
right,
but I'd rather just give you the money than just buy it from you and have it in my possession, because people's energy is transferable.
Sure, yeah.
And if they don't have good energy put into the product that they're selling you, it's just not gonna go over.
And that's, you know, you talk about energy, you know, I think we all realize, okay, we can, you know, what we got to be more mindful of what we put in our bodies, but I don't think we understand how much we put in our bodies that we don't understand. And everything's a diet, from what we feed our minds to what we tell ourselves to what we feed our mouths. You know what I mean? Everything is a diet. But more importantly, these plants, they're wonderful plants. Cannabis I'm speaking of. But people don't realize is they're cleaners, they're scrubbers. They scrub earth, they clean toxins. So when you plant them in a toxic environment, it absorbs those toxins out of the soil and everything else. They literally plant them in Chernobyl to remove the toxins there. So any plant that removes toxins, it's not like it removes it and releases it back out, it absorbs it. So if this plant's absorbed a pesticide or an herbicide or a microbial, or was cured improperly and has mold or mildew in it or whatever, guess what? You about to have mold or mildew. You're about to have microbials and pesticides when you consume it by smoking it or eating it or whatever. So what I'm getting at is so important, especially with your cannabis stores, to make sure they're doing their due diligence. And I'll tell you from experience, most of them aren't. Make sure they're doing the testing it takes and doing the research and making sure they know where these products are being sourced from and that they're safe for their consumers. And most companies aren't doing it, and we are. We teamed up early on, luckily, with Wingate University and Todd Griffin, and now he started a company called G2 Analytical. Shout out to everybody just mentioned. And you know, they come in, they were testing products. He was trying to find something ultimately for his niece's child going through some medical issues. Long story short, we started giving them products to test, and we created a whole testing program to them. So not only do we have everything tested initially, we go back and have things retested to make sure the content's still pure, clean, everything that said it's going to be. So it's been a hell of a process, man. But you know, we realize, let's keep everybody safe. There's actually a lack of regulation in this industry. It's like the government's like, okay, here, it's, you know, hemp's legal now, whatever, and then the only thing they're worried about is how much THC it is, so they can know if they can bust you or not and take your shit from you. So, long story short, know what any cannabis store you go into, CBD or marijuana or otherwise, they should be able to quickly and fast, you know, show you immediately where their certificate of analysis are located from where they have these products tested. And if they can't produce that, walk out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because you got to know what's up. Because you're going in there to try to feel better, and you start smoking any of these things or absorbing any of these things, it's not going to make you feel good for sure. So
yeah, definitely be mindful about what you're consuming.
Right,
and,
for sure.
And also, you know, I tell a lot of people when it comes to, like, people make jokes, oh, CBD this, CBD that, but I'm like, do you even know, like, you say you're smoking Bubba Kush, you're probably smoking CBD spray with Delta 8 distillate. Like, you really don't know what you're smoking.
Or even worse, man. I've heard some bad stories about things people were putting on CBD flower.
Yeah, like, you don't even know what you're fucking smoking. You know, but people, oh man, CBD doesn't do anything. I'm like, bro, you can't sleep. You're smoking weed every day, but you still can't sleep at night. There's a problem.
Yeah, you got to know what you're getting.
Yeah, like, what the fuck?
And that's the thing. And Delta 8's great and all that too, but yeah, the CBD alone, and even just doing extractions and things. But you know, it's like anything. You're gonna get a better product when you start with a better product. So.
And then also when you know what it is that you're looking at. Like, I don't go in the grocery store and just buy anything. Like, I look at labels. I want to know what's in it. I want to know what this is. If it's something that I don't know, I'm not going to eat it.
Right.
Period. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing when we do your research. You got to study the terpenes. Why is this strain your favorite strain? Why does it make you feel good? Why does this make you feel anxious?
Right.
You know?
And see, that's usually what happens. People, their first experience with cannabis, they don't know these things. So they have a negative experience because either overconsumption or they take a sativa and it gives them a lot of anxiety, or they take a indica, they smoke an indica and it makes them really sleepy. So it's like, you know, you got to know what they do. Now reason most people don't know because they haven't had the access. Now we have the access. Now we're getting the knowledge. Now we're being able to do the testing required to know why these products work and how. And we're learning, man, that, you know, it's the high is great, but there's so many other things too that can give you that high. But there's also other elements that control that high you get. Yeah. You know, and every cannabinoids, there's between 80 and 114 cannabinoids that are known in the cannabis plant. And now we're learning what the combination of those do, and also the combination of those with terpenes do. So, you know, we're just at the cusp and just learning too how to extract certain cannabinoids and terpenes and leave others intact. And now we're really starting to dial in certain formulas to do certain things.
Going crazy.
It's an amazing movement. So,
everything going on in cannabis is amazing right now. Like Burner with caps, what he's doing with caps. Like, he's using the terpenes and the fucking mushrooms and CBD. I'm like, that's crazy as fuck. You know, I love stuff like that. And it's going to open the door. Are you a user of mushrooms?
So it's something that I dabbled in the past, and something I've got into a lot more again recently. Yeah. You know, it's something I think coming back around, and we're starting to understand. Most recently, the World Health Organization said that psilocybin and mushrooms are the safest drug that we have on Earth. So little to no chances of addiction and little to no chances of overdose or death. And
just an ego death.
Right, ego death. That's it. That's it. So, you know, it's something that I have, to answer your question, I'm now microdosing almost daily.
How is it? I've never microdosed. I just went straight for the
hero doses. Yeah, it's different. There's not a whole lot of effect except for days just get better. Things that wouldn't normally bother you, that would normally trigger you, don't. It's just an overall zen feeling. Like it's almost like an aura that protects you. And you know, I was out on the boat with my girls. I live on the lake, and I have 2 young daughters. And I was out on the boat with my girls, and I took a little more than my normal micro dose. And on the way back in, there was a storm in the distance, and some jam was on the radio, just some banger, you know. And I was in my zone, and just it was almost like the music was hugging me. You know what I mean? And it's just this, it almost like control. You felt out of control, but completely in place and in control at the same time. It was humbling, you know, to say the least. But it's. I like being able to take myself out of the realm. That's why I like to get really high sometimes too, is to shock yourself out of complacency and look at the bigger picture and realize how much everything is going on around you and how much is connected and how disconnected or connected I am. And you know, it's the whole life premise of learn better, do better. And in my 40s now, that's what my whole path is trying to do, is take from what I've learned and really put it into more of a mechanic movement of do better. The words are there, the feelings there, the knowledge is there. Now it's like I've positioned myself in life to really make some changes, and I'm doing the best I can. Yeah, I'm fighting for this plant in 3 different states right now. You know what I mean? And we're fighting for, you know, bringing diversity into this industry. And one of my business owners is a gay female. You know what I mean? And it's funny, we could bring this up too. It's my Charlotte store is predominantly white males. My Columbia store is predominantly black females. And you go to either store and it looks like, they joke, it says it looks like we're black owned in Columbia, or that we're, you know, white supremacists, they joke about in Charlotte, which is neither one the case. But you know, and now in the public eye more than ever, you want to show the diversity, but you can't tell someone of a certain anything to walk through the door and apply for this job. You pull from the pool you got, and it just happened to work like that. But we've had people of all sorts, kind of size, color, shape, gender, everything else come through the doors and work for us. It just has worked out where it just looks that way right now. But you know, we're constantly growing, constantly changing, bringing on new people. We hired 2 new people last week in Columbia. We've already had to fire them because they didn't show up on time. But you know, it's a great time to be alive, man. It's a great time to be in this industry. Yeah, it's a hell of a time to be alive, dog. I swear to God, it is. It's crazy. They told me the revolution won't be televised, but I feel like it is. You know, I feel like we're seeing it. I think it's happening right in front of us, and I can't really pinpoint where it's how. I think it's been a lot of movements over the years, but it's like, I think the social media empowered a lot of people and gave a lot of people voices that normally wouldn't. And what I'm seeing around me is people coming out of the darkness and saying that I've been harmed. I was, you know, molested as a child, or I was beaten as a child, or whatever harm or things caused damage along the way. I think this generation has learned to speak about it and learn to be open about it and not carry that victimization of this was done to me, so it's going to turn to addictions and more hurt, more pain, more substance abuse or whatever. And I think this generation, your generation, are saying, you know, let's talk about it. Let's heal. Let's break these generational cycles that we keep getting into. And I think the plant, as we discussed earlier, is at the head of that movement. I agree. And I feel like the plants, the stuff that they've been feeding us is what's kept us here, right? Yeah. And now we're realizing, hey, if we feed the stuff they tell us we can't feed ourselves, it's a whole different path and a whole different virtue that looks way better, that's way healthier, that's more inclusive, that doesn't exclude and doesn't lead to anger and violence like alcohol does. Like, you know, like my father and his father, you know, that's how they dealt with hurt, pain, rejection, prejudice or racism. They dealt with it with alcohol and substance abuse, and it's like this cycle. And I think all of us generation now moving forward is like, nah, it ends now. Let's talk about it. Social media gives you realize you're not alone, because one hashtag tells you there's 40 other people that's going through the same thing you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you use it as an inclusive tool of unity, it's a beautiful thing. But when you use it to divide, like I saw in the previous presidency, that's when it's wrong to me. You know what I mean? But I think people are getting smarter for the most part. I think we're realizing that the government keeping it from us is probably good for us. You know what I mean? So it's we got to keep exposing. We got to keep having these conversations. But it's a beautiful thing, man. Beautiful industry. We got so much further to go. People ask me all the time, where are we at in North Carolina for legalization? And I was like, man, we'll probably be dead last 50th. But we got a lot of backwards thinking people in this industry, in this state. One of our senators, Tom Tillis, receives more money from Big Pharma than any other senator in history, any other current senator or past. We got other very conservative Republican candidates throughout the state that's blocked movement on this medical or recreational cannabis from day one. We started one bill. We got North Carolina Representative Montgomery right here in this warehouse. In North Carolina right now, we got 2 medical bills, 2 recreational bills, and they're stuck right there. They made it to the House and through the House and stuck at the Senate, the Republican-led Senate. And, it's important. And who you vote into these spots controls all this. Meanwhile, all the states around us are making movements to the future, realizing that this war on drugs went disproportionately towards people of color. And it's time to make the reparations. It's time to make it right. It's time to stop destroying families over possession of a plant.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
But meanwhile, North Carolina, we're stuck in 1940. So
yeah.
I
was high the other day, and I had a fucking realization that everything exists on frequencies. Everything has a vibration. You know what I'm saying?
100.
And it's like fucking, I feel like THC has such a high vibration that it's gonna get back to the people regardless, to wake the people up. Like, that's just my thing. Like, like with Delta 8.
Right.
Delta 8 is THC. People can say what they want to. That shit is THC, dude.
THC, yeah.
But it's like fucking.
With tetrahydrocannabidiol, THC, there's so many variances. And right now we're even doing testing for Delta 10, Delta 11, THCV, THCA.
So it's like fucking, if they ban Delta 8, there's going to be Delta 10.
Right. And see, what happened, and the way the whole thing goes is federally, it says the only thing federally regulated is Delta 9 THC, and that's the one we all know and love, Delta 9. We're finding out there's one stronger that we could possibly be in the legal loophole. We could talk about that, but Delta 9 is the one that's federally regulated. It has to be less than 0.03%. So some people smarter than myself went, but they didn't say nothing about Delta 8 or Delta 10 or Delta 11. So that's when they figured out that they could synthesize through acids, wash, and things like that, CBD, and convert it to Delta 8. Delta 8 is naturally found, but not in the abundance it needs to be. So that's when they realized, well, man, we could do this and this and this and make Delta 8 more abundant. And that's where now the DEA is like, well, you can't have synthetic cannabinoids. And it's like, well, they're not synthetic. We just hurried the process. Because even if you take standard CBD flower or whatever, stick it in the window and let the sun decarboxylate it, ultimately it's going to turn hot anyway. It's going to go. So anyway, you got a lot of people making these rules and laws that don't understand the plant whatsoever. And we try to educate. We try to have patience through this. But when you see people suffering and you realize a lot of these people are dying and suffering by something that could be changed and finished by a plant. But we literally have receptors in our body for this plant. The largest system in our body is called the endocannabinoid system. It literally regulates every other system in our body. And it's proven that these receptors literally receive these cannabinoids, and it helps you achieve what's called homeostasis. It helps you achieve this balance of health. They call it the Goldilocks effect. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. So you know, that's ultimately what these cannabinoids do. And you get people come in, well, what do I take it? What do I take for this or that or the other? And I tell people, just take CBD like a vitamin. You take it every day, and then ultimately you'll feel better and better because your body is literally healing itself. And myself being overweight and playing sports and everything else, I had bad knees and feet, and I used to hurt so bad I could barely stand for longer than 10 minutes, and I'm just not in pain anymore. You know, my blood pressure went in way better range. I was pre-diabetic. I'm no longer. You know, those things like that, it's incredible. And this plant is the only thing that changed in the regimen of taking CBD oil every day. So, but, you know, it heals and it helps. And now they're saying things like rheumatoid arthritis and things like that, they're now thinking are caused by a cannabinoid deficiency. And they're also now finding out that THC, high levels of THC and other cannabinoids have shown to kill cancer cells. And it eats the protein that causes CTE, the head injury found in a lot of pro football players, and the protein that eats that causes dementia and Parkinson's and other you know, neurological disease. So yeah, the thing is Israel's at the cutting edge, I think, of all this research, but we're just now starting to get access to it in this country. And we've known all along what it's done. Nixon's hired commissions back in the 70s to prove how dangerous it was, and it proved opposite. So we know that these plants are good for us, but now we're just starting to do the research to figure out exactly why and what they do. So
I'm glad to be allowed to see it and to be able to consume it on the regular too. Because before, man, I used to get super paranoid.
Oh yeah.
You know, I used to be like fucking. But
yeah.
I feel like marijuana just exposed who I truly was. The plants themselves exposed to myself who I truly was, and now it's like I live fearlessly. You know,
right?
Like I wake up every day just like, wow, man, it's so much life to live. It's so much stuff to do. It's so many places to go. Like fucking so many people to meet. You know what I mean? And you just look for the good in life versus looking for the negative in life. You know, it's just changed my life completely. Plants in general, I'll say for first going plant-based vegan, that was the first step, and then it was I took shrooms. You know, I had my first shrooms trip. It was beautiful. And then I realized like all of this shit is connected. Like the plants, it's the plants. And then I smoked. Then
the earth gives you what you need, man.
It just gave me what I needed, and it's like all of those things combined. It's like you can't be
For me, it removed my fear, and fear kills more dreams than anything. And when you lose that fear, it's like Jordan in his prime. You know, when he was in the zone, you can see it in his eyes.
Yeah.
When you lose that fear, you feel like I'm gonna take every shot I can get because I can't miss. You know, and you realize fear is just that. It's fictional. It doesn't exist. It's not real. Nothing's happened to you. You're just taking life experiences and other people's words and manifesting it into a wall. And it's non-existent. The only thing holding most people back that I ever meet is themselves. The potential's there, the opportunity's there, but they got every damn excuse in the world why they can't take that next step. And then they're talking about, well, what if I fail? Well, failure's part of it. You have to fail.
Yeah.
You can't. If you don't fail, you don't learn.
I feel like you fail, but I feel the ultimate fail is not trying.
Right.
The ultimate fail is not trying. Like,
and that comes down to that fear.
Yeah.
Everybody's fear of failure causes them to fail. The irony, but
yeah,
I see it more than not, man. But and then you hear all these success stories of people that made it big in movies or sports or life or financially or whatever. It's all comes from the same place. Like, I got sick of where I was. It's that drive of it's so bad where I'm at. I will do whatever it takes to not be here again ever. And that's what drives, and it's a beautiful thing. That's where so much beauty in the struggle, but that's what makes us. The struggle is what makes us, because if it was all good, we wouldn't grow. You know, it's the analogy, I didn't know this, of lobsters. You know, lobsters only grow as big as their shell, apparently. And if you get to, if they would keep, if they get too big, the shell becomes uncomfortable. But if the shell were to, continue to let them be comfortable, they wouldn't grow. So I didn't know any of this, but it's that whole thing again of learn better, do better. You see the off camera over here. I got the Buddhas over here.
A lot of them.
It started as a joke with my buddy. He was like, he went to Korea and he was like, man, they got statues of you over here everywhere. But I started collecting them because it does look like me. But I started reading into a lot of Buddha and things, and Buddha's, you know, all about self-improvement, self-awareness, and you know the mark you leave, your carbon footprint, if you will, on this earth. And you know, it's about consumption and what you consume, and it's about impermanence and realizing everything changes and everything's attached. So I'm really trying to embrace all of that and learn that and realize that you have to have the good with the bad, and don't turn a bad moment to a bad day.
Don't own it.
Right.
You can't own it, man.
Right.
You can't own those bad times.
Right.
Only own the good ones.
Right. And even then, you got to understand that the good is great, but the good doesn't last either. You know, and when you realize that it's okay, but so many people get so caught up in the past or the future, when literally the only thing we have control over is right now. And that's what, to me, is what that represents to me over there, and what I remind myself every day. Because I'm still high. Cryptocurrency took a shit yesterday. I don't know if you into all that, but I lost a lot of money.
I'm learning before I get into it fully.
I lost a lot of money yesterday, so I was in my feelings yesterday and today, and then I'm like, hold up, man. I turned $1,200 into $20,000 from that stimulus check, you know, so I can't be too upset taking the $5,000, but still, it's perception. And if I dwell on the money I lost, I'd still be there. But now I'm like, hold up, what about the money I gained? You know what I mean? So, and I got so many other blessings around me. So you just got to understand, for the moment, that's what you're dealt. Make it better on the next moment. I learned some lessons on this part that I won't take and do again, hopefully. So
yeah, life
is beautiful, man. But the plants helped guide me to get here. You know, I got a long way to go. We're still growing as a company. But it's nothing but beauty on the horizon, man. And it's all about surrounding yourself with positivity and not, you know, it's that thing, you know, they tell you got 5 broke people in the room, you about to be the 6th. And you got 5 millionaires in the room, you about to be the 6th. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. And we hate to think, because you don't want to leave your family, your boys, your friends, whatever behind. But you start realizing, look, if they're not bettering my life, it's not selfish for me to put that boundary there. You know what I mean? Like, I can love you, but I can love you from afar, and I'm not going to let you drag me along, because I've got better calling in life. And it's understanding that and prioritizing who's there to teach you a lesson and who's there to bring you a blessing. But it's about prioritizing what's important. And right now, my money's on the plant, getting it legalized, and grinding for my family and building this empire, man.
Yeah.
And nothing scares me anymore. And we have new investors and things involved in these new projects coming up, and I forget seeing the fear in their eyes of like, I don't know about this. They're already, you know, but literally we heard no more than yes, and we continue to. And honestly, when we hear yes, we almost get more worried now than when we hear no. You know, because it's like, well, we're not used to this.
Yeah,
like, what's different. The catch? You know what I mean? So
what's going on?
We had to beat down a lot of doors, and at this point, and we think about all the doors that had to beat down to get us to where we're at. So we come a long way. We got a long way to go. That's my whole theme.
You were first, though. That's the number one
first
thing.
In Charlotte, and there was a couple places in Charlotte that sold CBD, but we were the first dispensary style CBD store.
I don't think there's really many that exist in the United States, period.
Right,
like,
not a whole lot. And
not like the way that you do it. Like, I go in smoke shops, like I go get papers and shit like that. And they fucking shit is in like a jar, just looking like some Reggie weed, like that nobody touches. Like,
and we, you know, and we're all, myself and my business partners, we're all consumers and cannabis lovers ourselves, and we've taken little pieces from what we like and what we didn't like. We're still improving on it, you know?
Yeah.
And then COVID threw a wrench in everything. Like, okay, we used to be so hands-on and touchy and smell and everything else, and we had to pull back from that and kind of readjust. But we're getting back into it. You know, we're finding ways to, like the student glass, you can consume it and taste a flower sampling without having to touch your mouth to it. It literally blows the smoke out at you and things like that. So It's all about the experience, and that's why we're doing the cannabis themed resort coming up soon.
When is that coming? I'm looking forward to
Man,
that.
I've been in meetings about it and everything, and I want to do like a full-on press release, and we're going to, and I'll give you a shout when we do it. But,
for sure.
And we'll talk more about it more off camera, but it's well into the works, and we just have to wait on a few more permits before we can go completely public with it. But cannabis themed resort, man, and that's,
you gonna have cannabis drinks too?
Cannabis, you name it, everything. Like I wish, yeah.
So you're gonna be in the pool smoking, with a fucking
all cannabis,
blazed,
everything, man. So,
blazed out of your mind.
You know, it's a beautiful thing, and I can't wait to talk more details about it. But you know, it's like I was talking with my business partner Dan this morning. It's like everything in life, either you're growing or you're digressing, but you got to keep that forward movement. You know what I mean? You got to keep growing, learning. You got to keep taking risk and learning the lessons from them. So, you know, if you just sit and think everything's going to be okay from here on out, it'll never be. There's always going to be problems thrown at you. There's always going to be hurdles and road humps as part of the game. You just got to learn how to overcome it.
Yeah, life's not about what happens to you. It's about how you deal with what happens to you.
100%.
You know, how you perceive
shit ain't going to stop happening to you. And that Biggie said, more money, more problems, that's some real shit. Because the more money you get, the more people want a piece of it. And it comes at you, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, I used to think the only problem I got is money. Well, now I got the other problems. You know what I mean? Money's still a problem too, because once you think you got money, you realize what real money looks like. You know what I mean? Like Jay-Z said, what you think's money, I pay in taxes. I remember that line. So. But it's, you know, we want legalization, but at the same time we want the black market's been beautiful. It's been good to America. Nobody's died from it. You know what I mean? And now we're involving the government, and it seems like it's more messed up than ever. You know, it's the regulations, the overtaxing, the high money, the shitty products. It's just, it seems like it's all coming to play once the government's played in it. But I digress. But yeah, man, that's it, man.
Yeah,
that's it's. You see the wall behind me. We've got the Hemp Retailer Association, Charlotte CBD. I got the podcast too, letsbeblunt.org. And then the plug is the distribution company here.
Yeah.
We also got Crowntown Cannabis is our brand name, but we're actually about to franchise as Crowntown Cannabis stores.
Okay.
And we actually have that trademark now. We got that trademark. So we were going to continue and franchise in Charlotte CBD, but after the fact, we realized you can't franchise Charlotte, or you can't trademark Charlotte or CBD because it's a location and the name of a drug. So we got that done.
That's dope.
We'll be checking that out. So
yeah. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks,
Mike.
man. Thanks for having me.
Listen,
I
man.
babble on too long.
Nah, man. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
you can find me on Instagram at Cannabis King South. We Charlotte CBD, CLTCBD.com. We're also CrowntownCannabis.com. You can also find us at letsbeblunt.org or on YouTube. Hit me up, man. Mike Sims. You got any questions? Want to get in the industry? Want to open a store yourself? Want to do an interview like my man here? Just see what's up. So,
yeah, tap in, man.
Family, Shaq Sims.
Family, man.
Keep watching this show.
For sure.
Keep doing your thing.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for having me.
Keep doing you, man. And listen, man, y'all shop with Charlotte CBD if you're in Columbia. Or if you're in Charlotte, you know what I'm saying?
Website.
Or the website.
We'll ship it right to your front door.
Ship it right to you. You know, I got a lot of people, man, support them.
Yeah.
You know, tap in with them. This is my cousin. So, you know what I'm saying? Up. Muddy Waters, we out.
Peace, love, and cannabis. Thank you.
I like that.
Yeah, man.